So today we will be taking a look at the Saitek Rhino x55 HOTAS. Big thank you to John, who is a subscriber of mine, for allowing me to use his HOTAS for review. I promise I'll get it back to you in one piece. In the box, which is a pretty box, you get a fancy glossary instructions booklet, some stickers which I won't use as it's obviously not mine, a set of varying tension springs for the stick, I'll address them later on, and one throttle, one stick, so if they're not in the box then there's obviously a problem. So what this is the Saitek Rhino x55 HOTAS. Now, HOTAS means hands on throttle and stick. You have a stick and a throttle. Basically, it gives you the controls of a cockpit. This would be classed more of a mid to high range HOTAS, coming in around 170 to 220 quid. You can get more expensive ones, and you can obviously get cheaper ones. Now, looks-wise, it looks very serious, very professional, very cool. You've got this great green backlighting as well, which just looks incredible. Very rugged construction with these sort of cool black dividing bars. Very much what I would imagine a Drake ship would look like in Star Citizen. Plus yellow and black hazard paint job with your angles on your stick to see how far to turn. And a cool official plaque style thing with Mac on the side of it. It's almost spelt right. We'll just assume the H is dropped. Now it feels very professional too. I use this primarily for Star Citizen, but it also works with games like War Thunder, any game that allows the use of a HOTAS. It has a rubberized sort of plastic feel. It feels okay, but there are lots of plastic features to it. Comfortable grips. The thruster control feels very good, but doesn't seem to be consistent. Sometimes it feels looser than other times, which is a bit of an issue, but it's not all the time. It's only very rarely this happens. The joystick allows for micro movement, which can be very sensitive, and this feels very good, and it's a great feature for this. So you can move your ship or your plane slightly rather than having to constantly jerk it back and forth. You'll be benefited with big hands, because I do stretch to reach the top buttons of the joystick. But there are loads of buttons, some very unusual. Is there too many? I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see when it comes to other games, and maybe when Star Citizen gets fleshed out more. Performance-wise, it is excellent. It feels very responsive. Plenty of customization as well, and there are some cool mode toggles. I've not used these. They don't seem to be implemented with Star Citizen yet, but I can see where they will come in handy with maybe switching between combat mode, landing mode, and even having something like a large ship, so like a freighter, because the controls will be completely different between these ships. It could also work in other games, I suppose, like Armour or even War Thunder, where you can switch between styles of planes. I am yet to try that out, though. Now, it takes a little setting up, so it's not entirely plug and play, but it is very rewarding when you get it right and when you get it how you want it to be. Always take the time, because you will get the most from it if you spend the time customizing it. The throttle also works very well. It allows you to increase your speed in single increments, which in my eyes is very important. And it's not something you see from all HOTASes. I know on a particular one that I use, a very sort of low end one, you can only go between 0%, 50 and 100. Whereas this allows obviously 1, 2, 3%, which gives you much more control. And as I say, very important. So the features, and there are a lot of features. The first most notable feature is the sheer amount of buttons. You've got toggles, switches, even little nipple device button things. I'm not even really sure what they're for. On the stick, we have 3 hats and 1 red button, which is always begging to be pressed. A trigger, a secondary, and even a tertiary fire button, plus a little sneaky button on the side, and this little interesting thingy-me-bob, which I actually use this for changing the flight modes in Star Citizen, but I don't know, it's a bit flimsy, but it does the job. The throttle, on the base of the throttle, there are 7 toggle switches, 2 rotational sort of dimmer switches. The mode selection, as mentioned before, the throttle itself has 2 more hat switches, a nipple switch, which is what I call it anyway. And I think this is to be used as a mouse control, so that's what it says in the instructions, which, to be honest, I never really read them. But anyway, the red button as well, and a trim rotary plus 2 more rotaries, which I'm not really too sure what you can use them for, but they do click, so they're an extra button at least. An SLD, which could be slide, and God knows what that's for. Behind, there are 2 more buttons and a 2-way toggle. Now, one of the other nifty features about this throttle is the ability to separate and control 2 engines simultaneously. You pull this little toggle switch thing out, and it releases or divides it into 2. So you can have 1 engine controlled by the right, 1 engine controlled by the left. This is something Star Citizen ships will incorporate, but at the moment, it is just single primary thrust. Now, you have the ability to bolt it to a desk or whatever it is you're using. This would give it far more stability, so if you are in a bit of a panic and you twist your stick or you tilt it, there is some bouncing around if you pull it too hard, so if you have it bolted to a desk, you will have far more stability with it. The other features include a set of tension springs which allow you to adjust the amount of effort it takes to move the stick. And it is quite fiddly, and it did take me a long while to get it together again. But I guess the harder it is to take apart, the more robust it is. The throttle does also have a tension adjuster. However, if you don't bolt the throttle to a desk, I suggest keeping it on the lowest setting because otherwise you'll just smash it into things. So the downsides of the Rhino X55, pretty minimal. However, there are a couple. The first one is the size of the stick. Now, as you can see, my hands aren't small. As you can see, they measure about 190 millimeters or 7.5 inches, both in height and my sort of grip, my reach. I find myself reaching for the top set of buttons, which requires me to actually lose control of the stick. So I have to sort of remove my hand from it for a second, but that second could be the second that you get fired upon. The other problem is the tension of the throttle. The initial use of it tends to be quite sticky and it needs loosening up. And on the very odd occasion, like I've mentioned before, sometimes it can become tense and I'll end up pushing the throttle all the way across the desk, knocking over all kinds of crap. Apart from that though, I don't really see much wrong with the HOTAS. It's kind of bulky, it's very thick bases, so it is sort of standing up on your desk rather than laying flat. But that's really not a big deal. In conclusion, I have been using the X55 for a while now, and I really love it. It's become my sort of go-to device for games like Star Citizen and War Thunder. The issues I have with it are very minimal against what I like about it, so I can honestly say it has increased my ability to fly, and more importantly, the control I have over my ship, which is obviously going to be very important when you're shelling out insurance for smashing into a landing pad. For the price, I would definitely recommend it, especially now the X55 has been released, so the price will be reduced over time. Also, if you are interested in the X55, which is the step up from this one, then do check out Board Gamer's review. The link is here or in the description. Highly recommend checking that out, even before you buy, because you may opt for the next one up. I think the use of a HOTAS for any flight sim is a must. I could never go back now to using mouse and keyboard. It just feels weird. And to be honest, the X55 does have everything you will need from a HOTAS. I'm interested to see how it will fare up once Star Citizen has all its features in. And we'll probably be able to get much more use out of the controls, because I only use a slight amount of the actual buttons that are available. Just so you know, I will also be bringing a review of the Thrustmaster HOTAS X, which is more of a low-end HOTAS, plus a review of the Logitech Extreme 3D Pro, which is generally just a stick with a silly flimsy throttle, just so people can see the difference between these low, medium, high, and I may even do a comparison between the three, so do stay tuned. Anyway, that was the review of the X55. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you own one, have I got it right? Put it in the comments, as it helps the viewers decide whether to buy or not. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I shall see you next time.